Hello and welcome to the I Love You Bet podcast. I'm Heather and this is my sister,
Rian. Each week we will revisit relics of our childhoods using our multiple master's degrees
to critically evaluate the crap that consumed our misspent youth. So join us,
sisters, latchkey kids, cuspers, and lazy feminists as we look back at our past to say, I love you, but...
I'm doing this liver cleanse because I've decided to attack my symptoms rather than my behavior, since I don't seem very good at attacking my behavior. Perhaps if I attack my symptoms, my behavior will fall into line. It's going okay, but it cracks me up because the very first thing is like, drink 4 glasses of water the first thing in the morning. I'm like, that's a liter. So basically it's like, take this thing that's supposed to help your liver and drink a liter of water every single morning. It's like, I mean, half the people that are doing this get good results because they don't drink a whole liter of water ever. So like, just the fact that they're, the first day was rough stuff. As you know, sent me to bed with the shivers and shakes.
Oh my God. Is it like the colon boom or is it something else?
It's something different, but it definitely cleared out my colon. And then ever since then, I weirdly started my period a week early, and that's it. There's no other symptoms, so I don't know.
Are the symptoms that caused you to do this better?
I can't tell. So that's all lab work. It's blood work. So
okay.
The hope is, I'm doing this one that's like in glass bottles where you have to like break off the ends like you're in a fucking 10th grade science class or some shit. That's like crazy expensive, took too long to get here. And I was like, okay. So I went on Amazon and found a more affordable option that people say if they take their lab results and they're better. So I'm going to try to just go on to the pills and take those every day with the hopes that when I get my next labs, we see improvement.
Well, I took my first dose of Vyvanse this morning. So finally, I think I looked back at my text messages and you and I were texting about it literally a year ago.
Yay!
Like January of 2023.
Yeah, but what's a year in ADHD time? Like 4 months?
Like 4 years.
No, I think for time blind people, a year is like 4 months.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What did I finally? The first time I called to even begin the process was like April of last year.
Okay, good.
And then so I finally was able to get. So I'll do this for 2 weeks at the smallest dose, and then check in with her, and then see about raising the dose for ADHD. And then, of course, it's also approved for binge eating disorder, so we'll see, which I think is becoming recognized as a symptom of ADHD. So we'll try to see
all
like
that
how
stuff
that
I was
goes.
telling you a year ago.
Shut the fuck up.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that as an observer, I already find you to have more baseline. Like you're giving me more right now than I usually get from you on a Sunday morning.
I took it like 30 minutes ago. It's not from the vacation. I think that it's...
No, I know it's like, placebo effect, but I don't mind it.
I don't think I also woke up thinking we were going to start 40 minutes ago. So I woke up at like 8:30 my time. So I have been awake for longer than I usually have.
Good morning.
I make an effort to be more present with you. I think it's placebo effect for you, not me.
I know. I wasn't blaming you. I said as an observer.
Oh, okay. You're observing what you want to see instead of...
I'm very careful with my language. I know that's...
I was really hoping that what you were going to say there is, as an observer, I can already tell changes and improvement in your behavior in the last year, but that's not what I got. It was just this minute in the medicine.
Oh, no, I also have noticed that.
Okay.
I was
All right.
speaking specifically for the audience of the podcast.
Ah,
Because sometimes I'm
audience
real
of,
tempted to speed up your audio by like 0.5. So,
because I talk so slow?
yeah, your reaction
Oh.
time can be slow. So I'm real excited to see if this helps with your comedic timing. Because I know your brain is faster. What? I
I
recall
know.
times in
I
life.
was being really funny last night, so maybe that will spill over and I don't feel like it was fully appreciated.
What did you do
At my
last
murder
night,
mystery.
my sister?
So I have joined a book club. I joined it over a year ago, and they meet monthly. This is the third time I've gone.
Congratulations.
This was the first time I've gone where I didn't read the book. Normally, I read the book, but I don't go because I don't like people or small talk. But it's also like I like all these people, but they're all coworkers, so it's like
You don't want to go
one.
talk about work.
Yeah, I don't want to go talk about work, when I'm not at work.
Yeah.
Like I'll bitch about work all day long at work,
Where they're paying you.
And like small talk is just I hate small talk. And it's like people that I never and I know that's like, okay, the more time I spend with it, but they're also like a very clicky group. Like it's all people that have worked together, have worked at the school for much longer than I have been there.
Yeah.
So it's like hard to make inroads. Um, so it's just hard. It's not, I would never say that I've had fun. But I thought, oh, well, I'll go to this one because they bought one of those murder mystery kits where it's like everyone had a character and we got to pick our character. And the one I picked ended up being a vampire. Um, and I was like doing a French accent. And think I did very well because when I was practicing, Heather, it was going all over the place. And so I was going to make up a whole story about how I've lived in many different countries. So if my
Because you're a
accent is hard to
vampire.
place because I'm a
Yeah.
vampire.
Right.
And so and I had to drive like the person's house was in another county over. And so I had to drive like 30 minutes. So I had to drive 30 minutes in the rain at night on these winding roads. So it felt very much like the opening to Clue.
Yeah,
Like
nice.
going to like a murder mystery and I had these like silken gloves on. I was
Or a
feeling
Rocky Horror
very
Picture Show.
yes, it was gonna go either way. So yeah, and it was fun. I mean, it was definitely better. Of course, I get there and it's still small talk. Like I was getting there ready to just walk in character, and that's not
No,
like I
not the
had all
vibe.
this backstory I'd made up, and you know,
You should have just done
uh, I
it.
should have. I really should have, but I was a little nervous. I should have had a drink before I went.
On the winding roads in
Plus,
the rain.
I also had like my décolletage out, which is not something that I normally do, and like I had makeup on, and like so now I think like people like because they didn't know I was a vampire, and I put so much like foundation on, and I never wear makeup, so I'm like these people are probably gonna think I don't actually know how to put makeup on. I look like a seventh grader, like when we had the like foundation line, like oh. But anyways, so I think that like maybe I have some holdover from that, like so I should just go to a party every Saturday night before we do our podcast now. How are you? How'd you waste time this week, Heather Davis?
um, so many things. Still helping out my uncle, and we had to go get an MRI this week. And while we were waiting, I don't know what station this was. I think it was an iHeart radio station, but it felt like um, there could be a layer of hell where you're just in a waiting room and it just plays this radio station all day, and that would be it. And you would just never leave the waiting room, and that would be a level of hell. I have had from a distance stuck in my head for nearly a week. That
Jesus.
song sounds different now than it did then.
Oh, Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. You mean then like when it came out
Yeah,
or
like when it came out and you hear it now, and first
yeah.
of all, the sentiment behind it, you're like, ugh, whereas I
Yeah.
don't know, I think I was like 9 or whatever when that song came out, or I don't know,
Oh my
somewhere in there.
God.
So,
I
you
just
know, I
remember
was like,
Dad playing it all the time. Dad loves Robotus.
so see how
Yeah.
you're doing it with the big operatic? That's
Yeah.
not how she sounds. It's much more, it's like she's
Oh,
got pre-vocal fry. So it's like she smoked
yeah.
15,000 cigarettes and then was like, from a distance. It's like very nasally and like teeth closed. And I'm like, who
Yeah.
are you? What is that? Like, so it is a little bit operatic, but it's more nasal. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. I don't like
Yeah.
nasal singing anyway. So it's really hard for me to like anything that Lin-Manuel Miranda does because I have to get over not liking that nasal sound and then I can enjoy it. Like
Yeah.
artistically, I enjoy it from the start, but aesthetically, I have to get past the nasal.
It's yeah, it's bad. Like I don't know, I couldn't make it through the Heights, and he's not even in it that much, but
Yeah, but he wrote all the
like,
songs, so everything's all
yeah,
through the
I'll just watch
nose.
Hamilton.
Put it through your mouth. That need to go through your nose.
Sing down your mouth. So would this level of hell be like above or below the one where every time you touch a beautiful man, I want to stand with you on a mountain starts playing? Because I remember that level of hell.
Was that Jude Law movie?
That Jude Law movie where every time
Shit.
they went to kiss, it's like, I want to stand with you on a mountain. Like, and you were like, that to me is hell. Like, there's this beautiful, beautiful man. And every time you touch him, that song plays.
Man, I don't know. That's they kind of seem like the same level. You would get more variety of songs, but you also wouldn't have a beautiful man to look at. Like, I'm going to go ahead and rule that yeah, maybe we need a new podcast where we just come up with different levels of hell. That'd be fun.
Levels of hell.
So the other thing that I had to waste time on this week was realizing that 2 of the 3 directors in my department are actively trying to take me down. And feeling very.
What does that mean though? But like, what does it mean to actively take you down? Like, get you to quit, like get you fired, drive you insane? Like, what
as far as I can tell, they're
that...
trying to make me look bad to my boss so that she'll fire me, I guess, or that I have absolutely
no one at your work ever gets fired.
Well, that's not true, but you have to be pretty egregious to get fired. You have to be pretty egregious.
Like
now,
your boss is not gonna
right. That doesn't mean that they can't make me miserable, and they were succeeding at it. But then I thought about something. Do you remember when Bill and Mary's mother had to go hardcore at work because everybody was attacking her and she shaved her head? This is around the time when she painted the whole kitchen red for Valentine's.
Oh, okay. Bill and Kelly's mother, Mary.
Yeah, sorry. Bill and Carrie. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, I was like, Bill and Mary.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes,
I do remember when, and then she like sprayed the inside of the ran out with the garden.
I don't know about the garden hose.
She painted the whole kitchen red for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Including the fridge, right?
I don't remember.
I think it was including the fridge. So
anyway, I heard about it.
So I was telling our buddy Jesse about that recently because he didn't know about the girl thing where if you have a bad breakup, you cut your hair, you get a bad haircut. Like he didn't know about that. And we were talking about hair and how important it is. And I told him the story about, Bill and Kelly's mother. And he was like, oh, that's badass. Like, that's so badass, blah, blah, blah. So then I was thinking about it and I was like, well, I don't want to do that. But I do feel like they're making me miserable. I'm allowing them to make me miserable. And I should stop allowing that. So then I was thinking 100%. Maybe I'll get a hard hat. Like I could, from a costume and wear that in my Zooms.
Yeah.
Or like a chainmail sweater. And then I was thinking, I was like taking it further and I was like, maybe I could get like my Zoom background should just be like a bunker. And then like a foxhole. Like just different, like a gladiator arena.
So you were talking to Jesse, huh? About things.
Yeah, just because it was funny because of the thing. So then he replied, face tattoo.
They have those fake ones now.
I
like
know.
They have those. Yes. Yes. Do you remember when you wanted to get the tattooed on your forehead that said like leper or repel or something?
Yeah, because then it would be repel backwards in the mirror.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like something about boys not being, I don't know, able to deal with you or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back when I cared about boys.
Well, now it works too, so you could just get that one on across your face.
I just figured I should just act like I'm under attack at work because I am under attack. But instead of being like sad about it, like I was Friday when it happened, I could just be like, "This is so stupid."
Yeah, fuck this shit. Yeah.
So yeah, because I was like, why? I shouldn't have to give up my job. Like I like my job. I just don't like this kind of stuff that tends to keep happening, and I don't understand. And everyone I tell, they're like, why? Like,
it's just petty ass bullshit. Like
I don't know. I maybe they think we're on some kind of a reality TV show and somebody's gonna get cut. But
I think that you should up the reality TV show game. Like, if that's how they're going to play it, then you be the one that's like bringing the entertainment.
I don't want to. Well, yeah, I mean, I could be the funny one in the reality show, but like, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my plan.
What would Mariah do?
No.
Oh.
No. Not going there. But that's okay.
I'm trying to think of someone else. Like, what would
Heather do?
I don't know. This is not your purview.
I'm funny.
No, you are funny, but I mean, like.
But I don't need it to be a thing. I'm not trying to one up the game. I'm trying to find a way to respond to it where I take all the power out of it. Because it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we're not in the room where it happens. We're not in. Like, this ain't Game of Thrones. Like,
you make your background the fucking Constitutional Convention.
Like, what is happening? Like, none of this matters. Like,
want to be in.
I'm just trying to get my job done.
People that are emotionally fucked up. I started listening to another one of those books by that guy that I like who you didn't find helpful. But it's called Grow Up and How to Be the Parent Your Kids Need.
Cool. That's good.
So I'm enjoying, and he said something like, you'll never get over your past until you stop using it to justify yourself. Yeah. It was one of those where I was like, oh, damn, like out loud while listening to it. Like, oh. I do want to tell a story about falling in the bathtub.
Do you?
Or not falling in the bathtub, falling in the bathroom and what my kid did.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm like covered in bruises. I noticed last night, like my whole like arm, I have like bruises in 4 different spots on my arm. So the other night, Elliot was taking a bath and I needed to use the restroom. And like our bathtub is one of those old 50s style, or like the sliding door that slides open and close. And
on top of the tub.
On top of the tub, yeah. So it's like tub, and then like the old it's terrible, and I hate it, but it is what it is, and I rent so. But he wanted me to like mess with this toy that had been in the bathtub, and he hands it to me and said, "Water," like, and of course I said yes instead of just being like, "Hold on, wait." So water started spilling everywhere because I wasn't thinking about it because I hadn't started taking ADHD medicine. And then I thought I had cleaned it all up and I didn't. And I slipped and I fell. And I like out of the corner of my eyes, like laying there on the floor, trying to make sure that I hadn't broken anything or majorly injured myself. Elliot just like slowly slid the fucking door to the bathtub shut. Like that's how he dealt with it, which is like, so my child, just like
I'm gonna pretend like this isn't happening.
Like, oh shit.
I mean, in some ways that's good because there was literally nothing he could do to help you in that situation.
No, there was nothing he could do. I think part of him recognized that he somehow contributed to that happening. Like, thought he might be in trouble, so he was just like, I'm just, maybe she'll forget I'm here. So I did say something. I was like, so do you see now why maybe you should be a little more patient? And he was like, yes. Anywho, just
Close the door.
What are we talking about this week? What'd you watch?
Did we not both watch the same thing? Or did you only watch one of them?
Wait, no, I watched both of them. What?
Okay. Oh, hey, so it's Black History Month, and I thought we could
Times are changing. Every day.
Keep quoting the song.
We'll move to the beat of just one drum.
I really miss TV shows that the whole theme song summed up the entire plot. It's so good. It's like you don't even need a pilot episode. Just play the theme song and then boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I know I'm hopeful that if we continue this podcast, one day you and I can come up with a theme song that acts in that way together that you like and we'll make fun of. So
maybe if the podcast gets famous enough, we could get Lin-Manuel Miranda to run this.
I'm pretty sure he'll be like, I think I'll find someone who appreciates my talent 100% and isn't like, you're too nasally.
Fuck y'all.
Yeah, that's fair. So anyway, so Black History Month, and we haven't done TV shows in a while.
We haven't. I like them. They're short.
Yeah, they're a little bit harder to do, I think, just because there's not much substance.
No, it's hard. Yeah,
the 80s TV was not substantive television. That didn't really start happening till the 90s and later. But we definitely grew up watching these shows, like 100%, like 227. Definitely remember watching Diff'rent Strokes. Definitely remember watching like a lot of.
Yeah.
Do I remember much about them? No, but we can talk about what we remembered. And I just want to go ahead and put a big caveat here in case anyone's wondering why we're not talking about the Cosby Show. Bill Cosby is a rapist. So we're never going to do the Cosby Show. And it doesn't matter that there were really great episodes and funny ones, like when they tried to teach Theo a lesson and made him pay rent, and any of the ones where they all lip synced as a family. Like, just good stuff. We watched the shit out of that show as a kid, but
we did.
Nope. Not gonna raise up a rapist. So on that note, which show would you like to talk about first, Ryan?
Diff'rent Strokes first.
Hey, Diff'rent Strokes.
Yeah.
Awesome. What do you remember?
An old white man adopts two black kids and hijinks ensue.
Yeah. I remember.
That's really all I remembered.
I got the theme song.
Yeah.
And what you talking about, Willis?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Super duper, truly terrifying, very special episode.
Oh my God, yes.
Remember that one?
Where when the kid gets kidnapped?
No, well,
or
not
the
kidnapped.
pedophile.
The pedophile photographer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
There's
scary.
a lot of them. Yeah, because when I was like researching, I found a list of like the top 10 very special episodes, and I was like, good damn, this show like was basically just trying to be like after school special.
So it's a Norman Lear show. He wasn't in the credits. He used one of his production companies in the credits. So he was the guy who did the Archie Bunker show and a bunch of other. Yeah. So he was very much about forcing conflict onto screen to encourage a changing America, where it wasn't just white supremacists are right and the patriarchy is the best. So, he did a lot of good work. So I assume that's where a lot of it came from.
is really bad, and all in the family was so good.
Well, he didn't put his name on it. I think there's a special version of heaven. Maybe it's a narcissist heaven, though, where when you say a line, there's a group of people that all just clap because you said a line. Wouldn't it be amazing? Oh, they got all the way through the line. Yay! Congratulations.
I don't know. You would think that like this Gen Z or whatever would love 80s TV more, because like that's what they all want, is people to just clap for them every time they talk. Whereas like we don't. And like that's what we grew up with, is these sitcoms where it's just like, I mean, are there even live studio audience other than like late night talk shows? Are there any sitcoms filmed in front of live studio audience anymore?
There's a comedian called Whitney Cummings, and she had a show called Whitney, and it was that was the last one, and that was like the early aughts, I think. So yeah, it's been a long time.
The early aughts? What are the early aughts? Like the early 2000s?
Yes, that's what people say. What do you want me to say? The
zeros? Early 2000s?
Okay, we're still in the early
2000s.
We're in the early 2000s, relatively speaking. Like
the aughts.
Oh God.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wrote race and class stuff. I don't remember it, but I assume it was there. And then I remembered that all the kid actors burned out or something. Like they all had pretty tragic lives.
See, that's the research I did. Yeah.
And I somehow started on season like 7.
Yeah, so I chose an episode from season 8.
Dixie Carter was in it. So that was fun. I wasn't expecting her. Mr. Drummond was actually funny. That was fun.
Oh, so Dixie Carter played his wife in season 7.
Yes.
And then it was someone else in season 8.
Yes. She left the show because she didn't really get along with the cast, apparently. Gary Coleman in particular. So, yeah. Apparently, he was a little Lord Fauntleroy. Like,
she's like, fuck that kid.
Yeah. So the episode I watched 3. I watched Bedwetting and Undercover Lover from season 7, and then I found the pilot on YouTube and watched that.
Okay.
What did you watch?
I watched 1.5 episodes. I watched the episode on bulimia because that's the one I like. That I feel like that one was a very special episode. Like the Dana Pinto, other than the kidnapping and pedophile and like the big special episodes. Like I do remember the one where they went to Hollywood and like the Jaws and things and like bad things happened there too. And like the one where Dana Pinto like dyed her hair green from the rainwater. But vaguely remember that one. I remember Mrs. Garrett was on it, briefly.
For one season. Yeah, and they decided that she was strong enough that she could hold a spinoff on her own.
Yeah.
So they sent her over to that terrible show that we already talked about.
Another terrible show, yes. And then I just like left it on while I was like doing research about all the terrible things that happened to those 3, actors.
Yeah.
And like watched half of the episode that came after, which was basically like Arnold and all of his other like child friends who are like freshmen in high school being like, oh, you gonna take your girlfriend and break the sound barrier? Like, have sex? They kept calling it break the sound barrier. And I was like, this is fucking stupid. I can't watch this shit. Like, fucking children being like, yeah.
So in the episode I watched, Bedwetting, it was the first episode of the season with Dixie Carter where they're married. She has a son.
Yes.
Sam.
Redheaded pest.
Actually, he's not a pest. He's just a little whiny Southern kid. But I was surprised to learn that Mr. Drummond is funny. So that was enjoyable. And then Lil Sam brought in his little metal lunchbox, and I had a nostalgia moment. So I was like, oh, little metal lunchboxes. Those are so great. And then
the thermos.
There was no thermos. I mean, I assume it was in there, but it was never on display.
No, but I just the memory.
And so they, you know, basically like Willis is older, so he and Arnold are no longer sharing a bedroom. So now it's Sam and Arnold sharing a bedroom. And Sam starts wetting the bed. And literally, when the maid tells Dixie Carter's character, she like sits him down and is like, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to get yourself straightened out.
Dixie Carter said that to the boy?
Yes. And then it was so good because it didn't help. And so then they went to see a doctor. And the doctor was like,
I remember this episode. I do.
The doctor was like, this is a psychological issue. Maybe you shouldn't have shamed your fucking child. So then
like you just married this man and moved him into this house. Right. And like, oh God.
Yeah. So then they end up shaming the kids some more. It was really great 80s parenting.
Awesome.
And the other thing that really bugged me was that Arnold had a whole bunch of posters behind his bed, and it was all like Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson, and that was really hard to see that with a kid. Just like, why? No one listened. Like, listen to children. He's a monster. So that was really tough. Tough for me personally because I also was a late bedwetter. And also suffered we went to the doctor and nothing's wrong with you, so we don't know what to do about it. And I just had to kind of figure out how to deal with it on my own. I might be a psychopath because I started wetting the bed at 12, but I stopped. Don't worry, y'all. I barely ever do it anymore.
It was also when we all moved into a house with,
No. I started on Campbell.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, hon. Can you not try to gaslight me about my own?
Okay, sorry. I apologize. You're correct.
Okay.
You're right. I'm sorry.
You can argue with me about other things, but yeah, I remember that. So the next episode I watched was called Undercover Leather, and it was great because Arnold was wearing a Culture Club t-shirt, and that was super fun. There was a whole lot of fashion in this episode because it was a Willis episode, and he was in high school. So like all the girls had these awesome like sweaters. It started off, he's dating this girl, and she's wearing like a drop hem dress with like a lace collar and pantyhose and little kitten heels, and he's wearing the skinniest tie. I mean, it was like a pencil. Like, it was so skinny. And they had gone out on a date, and then it was real weird because like basically Arnold's like, yeah, what happened to your sizzle? And I was like, why is your younger brother talking to you about the physical romance of your relationship? Like, I don't.
And is that what his sizzle is getting physical?
Yeah. Okay. She broke up with him because he was boring or whatever, and then Willis is basically like implying to his old ass dad that the sizzle is gone, like in so many words.
Like he can't get it up?
No, like I don't know. It didn't go that far, but it was basically like they needed a premise for him to drop the girl he was dating and then bring in a new girl for this episode. And so I guess they just decided to make him kind of boring and talk about the sizzle being gone, where it's like, I don't know what kind of teenager you are where you stop being horny for each other, but like, I don't, like, does that happen? As a teenager? Like, does that, I guess, maybe, I don't know.
Not till someone gets pregnant.
Right. I mean, it was a little weird. So they had this whole boring part to try to get him to be with this other girl. And she's like, hey, yeah, you know what's fun? Coke. You should get me some.
Whoa!
And he's like, and his friend's like, you don't
she
do
brought
drugs.
The sizzle.
you have to like, you still have to take your aspirin and applesauce. So I was like, oh man, the show's messing me up in every direction. Me too, when I was that age. But yeah, I was like, man, it's better to be alone than to try to get coke to impress the new girl. But then Willis was wearing some dope ass sweaters in this, and then essentially he finds out that she's an undercover cop and she's using him because he's a nice guy who has connections to try to like find the dope dealers at the school. And so he gets all butthurt, and then the drug dealers find out that she's an undercover cop, and they're like, we're gonna beat her up. And he doesn't do anything because he's mad because she used him. Willis, what is wrong with you? So then he decides,
this in 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So then he decides that he's gonna, do something. So then Arnold shows up at high school with Willis to back him up, which, I mean, just the physical comedy alone. He was such a small man.
Yeah.
But it did make me think about, like, I at least remember now, your memory may be different than mine, but I remember, didn't some girl say she was going to fight you after school once? And I had to, like, go and try to, like, I was going to, like, beat her up instead or something.
I don't remember that. I think maybe you were saying you threatened to beat some kids up because they were making fun of me.
I probably did that too.
It was I don't remember anybody ever saying they were going to fight me.
But in the best sibling way, where it's like, I get to make fun of you, but nobody else gets to make fun of you.
100,000%. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You did make fun of me.
Yes. And you never, ever, ever teased me about anything ever in my whole life. Ever.
That's true.
So the other thing I learned on that episode was that Denise, the undercover cop, was tall and hot and tough. So that was nice. And then in the pilot, which was called Moving In.
Yeah. So what happened to their parents? Did they die? What's the connection? I can't remember.
I guess their dad died and their mom was Mr. Drummond's maid. And then on her deathbed, she asked him to take care of the boys, which he read as bring them in to live with me. Which I'm like, because they don't have anybody else in the world. And he tells this whole sob story to Mrs. Garrett because he just hired Mrs. Garrett and she's about to quit because she's like, you told me you had one daughter and now you're telling me you have two sons. Like, I'm out of here. I don't do boys. Like, no.
Yeah. False pretenses, motherfucker.
Yeah. But then he's like, no, here's this really sad story. And she's like, fine, I'll stay. And then when Kimberly shows up, she rings the doorbell, even though she lives there.
Her own home?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then after she's there, everyone keeps making jokes about how they're going to beat each other up. And everyone's laughing about it. Like, be nice to us or we're going to beat you up, or like, don't come in my bedroom or I'll beat you up or whatever. And I'm like, quit threatening to hit each other. Like, what is happening? I don't understand. Also, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know if it ever came up again, but in this pilot episode, Mr. Drummond shows off his hot tub and is bragging that he paid $4,000 for it. Now, in 1978, that's $18,900, just so you know.
For a hot tub?
Girl, not only is it a hot tub, it's a whole room dedicated to a hot tub. Like, there's nothing else going on in this room. It's just a big-ass room with some columns and some plants and a hot tub. And the denouement of the pilot is that Willis is trying to convince Arnold that they got to go, that they can't stay, that this isn't right, and they're going to run away. And then it's the morning, and they're trying to find Willis, and they think he's run away, and he's in the hot tub, and he had to think about it, and he's happy. And
he's like, this is so bad. Yeah. Same. Same.
There was a really cute thing that would have made Elliot really happy. So while he was trying to like win them over, He's accused of buying their affection because during family fun night, the first night, the doorbell rings and there's like every present in the world is like there, including a fucking
my
pony.
God.
They bring the pony in, and I'm like, okay, let's say you're like an 8-year-old in Harlem in 1978. Do you
Yeah.
really want a pony? Like, is that really something that you're going to be like, a pony? Or are you just going to be like, I live in a 5th floor walk up. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with a pony? Like,
Yeah.
I just
Like
feel
Atari maybe would be like, yeah.
I can't, I get it. Like for Kimberly, she would be like, a pony because we have money to keep it in the stables and I can take a car to get there. I mean, there's just so many logistics that I feel like if you grew up poor, you wouldn't.
But it's kind of perfect for Arnold because with other kids, they grow out of a pony. But he can just.
No. No. No, ma'am. No matter how much of an asshole he was. No, ma'am. That's so rude. That's so rude. So.
I said the character. I wasn't talking about the person.
All right.
That physicality was part of the character. Like, that character only worked because of Gary Coleman's physical stature. So.
I mean, he could have been a smart mouth little kid. He was only 10 when the show started, so he was a kid. It's not like he was 15.
No, I know, but even then, like later on, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is hard. Like, it was hard. Like, because even watching the episode I did, like, I'm like, oh, this kid. And then she's like, a freshman, blah, 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 freshman in high school. And I was like, and then I had to, like, remember, right? Like,
yeah.
So, sorry. Okay. Yeah, Elliot would have loved that. He'd be like, where's my pony?
Yeah, where's my hot tub room?
We had a whole conversation yesterday before he went down to the farm. And he said something about, like, you know, because he was getting a surprise every time to go to the farm. And we've talked to Grammy and said, can we not give this child a surprise every weekend because he's a spoiled little shit who has no gratitude. Like, he's an ungrateful. Like, I don't, you know, like, it's really the ungrateful part that bothers me more than the spoiled and having too much stuff. You know, and to her credit, she's been better. And so he was going down and he started to talk about how, like, how come I don't get a surprise anymore? When am I going to get a surprise? And I said, your birthday? Like, and like, why don't I get surprises anymore? And it's like, because you should just be happy to go to the farm and see your grandmother. And he was like, kind of, I was like, we're not talking about this anymore.
Hold on, I'll give you the Dixie Carter. Get yourself straightened out.
He's getting a lot more of that as he gets older, I will say that. Like,
get yourself straightened out, kid.
Get it together. Get your shit together. Get out of my face.
She's bringing back the 80s parenting.
No, I'm not. No, I'm listening to this book. It's like, don't do the 80s parenting. Like, don't be like, because we all grew up with the, like, just deal with it. Like, get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Ours wasn't so much get over it. Ours was just like non-existent, absent, uninvolved. And then, like, I'm so overwhelmed that we're just going to ignore this. So just mostly ignoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But they did the best they can, and I'm not blaming them. I'm recognizing that they did the best they can, and that I am responsible for my own choices and actions.
Congratulations.
Fuck you. So I watched the episode about bulimia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, are you done? No, you're not done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So apparently that was actually Dana Plato's last episode.
Okay.
They wrote her off the show because she got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Lisa Bonet, Dana Plato might be pregnant, but what's her face is not.
Kimberly.
What's her name?
Kimberly
is not. Kimberly is not. Did you know that both her and you probably didn't, Gary Coleman were adopted?
I knew Gary Coleman was adopted. I didn't know she was adopted.
Yeah, she was also adopted. She was born to a teen mom and given up for adoption. So So in this episode, and it's like so much happened. Like I feel like I was like writing like every fucking line, so the episode's called Bulimia. So it starts out and like the stepmom is who's not Dixie Carter in season 8. This is some other woman is like putting on a charity fashion show, and her and Kimberly are going to be models, and so Kimberly comes down in like a bathing suit and a bathing suit cover up, and they've asked Mr. Drummond to be the MC, so he's practicing. He's like, oh, and lovely Kimberly Drummond, and blah blah blah, bathing suit cover up, and when she's ready to get in the water, and so she like takes the cover up off, and apparently, so it's like a revealing bathing suit. And he's like, put something on, la la la, like all mad that she doesn't have anything on. But then he says, you really do something for that bathing suit, and like winks at her.
Yeah.
Which is fucking creepy as hell because it's her goddamn father.
Yeah.
So, and then like Arnold and redheaded pest Sam come in, and they're like, oh, Kimberly, you're doing something with that bed, saying else kind of creepy for brothers.
Yep.
And then like the maid comes out and she's like talking about the pan of brownies she made yesterday that have gone missing. And so, of course, they blame the 2 young boys. And I think that, like, I recall throughout the arc of the show, Arnold is known for, like, having quite the appetite. So I think that's, like, a thing. And so they blame the kids, and they're like, basically like, get it together, stop doing that, And then the maid lady, whatever, housekeeper, is like that she'd made 3 extra shopping trips, and it's embarrassing because the bag boys think she's eating all the food. And so she's also a plump woman, and so there's a lot of fat shaming in this show. Limit your snacking, all that garbage. And they said next time food disappears, you're going to lose your TV privileges. So then Arnold comes in with an entire sheet cake and trying to catch Sam, and then they hear someone coming, and they go and they turn the lights off and they hide. And Kimberly comes in, and I very remember these scenes. Like these were very this episode. I think I don't know what impact it had on me or how it affected me, but it made a core memory, right? But she comes in and she like sticks her finger in the cake, and then she's and like you can hear the audience laughing, and then she just like starts grabbing handfuls of the cake. So every time they showed her like eating as a bulimic, it was like she'd never eaten in her life, like, or hadn't eaten in like 10 days. Because then later they show another one, and she gets like the peanut butter out, and she just like opens this loaf of bread and just like rips the plastic open, like doesn't like no, there's no like taking the tie off, and it's just like, what the fuck? This is slight over like
it's not a monster.
Dramatic. Yeah, like she just like ripped the plastic up and grabs it and like sticks the whole like slice of bread in the peanut butter, and is like, like it's like, okay. And like in the first one, she eats an entire sheet cake.
Yeah.
And like a bag of chips and ice, like a pint of, like a whole thing of ice cream, like it's all left on the table. And I'm like, I just like, first of all, I'm like, I don't think that's physically possible for her, but whatever. Okay. And then of course she goes and throws, and they're like, the guys are like, oh man, I can't believe she ate all that, blah, 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 blah. And then of course, so then they hear her throwing up, and he talks about how she ate 80 tons of junk food. And then like Arnold is like, basically like, are you pregnant? Like, and she's like, I've never done this, and I'll replace all the food tomorrow. It's no big deal. Like Arnold makes a joke about eating enough to fill Dom DeLuise. And then Arnold is like, I think you might have that eating disorder that people keep talking about. And that's what she's like, you're just a high school freshman, you think you know so much. And then Arnold goes to Mr. Drummond and says something to him like, hey, I think Kimberly's got a problem. And Mr. Drummond, again, don't listen to kids,
Right.
is like, what? Kimberly thinks she gets fat just looking at the fridge. That was a fun little statement right there. And then he's like, it's impossible. I would know if someone under my roof had a problem. And then they realized, so then they do kind of talk to Kimberly about it. You look bored. Are you bored?
No.
Oh, okay. So Drummond and stepmom talked to her about it, and she's like, I'm always on a diet, and sometimes my mouth gets bored and needs something more exciting than celery. And so she's very flippant about it. And they're like, so the mom, who's like super skinny and apparently owns like aerobic studios, is like, it's called bulimia. And, she's like, it's done. I'm not going to do it anymore, And I guess she's been doing it for like 2 months. And then they leave, and Mr. Drummond's like, it's done. I believe her. She'll follow her promise. And the stepmom's like, it's a hard habit to kick. And I was just like, habit? It's a habit? Like, I think it's a disease, like in my head. I'm like,
yeah.
So then, she goes back, and of course she does it again. So they go, and I appreciate that there's so much happening in this episode that stuff happens off screen that they allude to. So then they come in and they're like, obviously have seen that she's done it again, which you don't see them discover that. They've gone to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and talked with them about it. So you don't see that. So they're coming back, and before they talk to Kimberly, they talk to the boys and tell them about it, which I found interesting. We need to be really nice to her and all of this. But at that point, they do talk about that it's a disease. So that was nice. And then they're like, well, what causes it? And they're like, well, they're perfectionists who are really down on themselves. So then Kimberly comes in, and Mr. Drummond's like, Kimberly, we need to talk to you. And he's like, last night you slipped a little. I was just like, the dad.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, grandparenty more than anything. So then she's like super mad. She's like, I wish I'd never come home from Europe. I hate this family. And so then she storms off, and then she comes back down later, and Arnold and Sam are there, and they're like, do you want to play a game with us? And she's like, I'm getting hungry. Do you know when dinner is? And then they're being all sketch about oh, I don't know if we're going to have dinner tonight. It was very strange. And so then she gets back. She's like, they told you to. Da, 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 da. So then she has her diet breakdown, and she's like, I have to be thin. I don't want to be even 1 ounce overweight. I want a perfect body. I'll do anything to stay this way. So she gets all upset and dramatic about that. And then, Mr. Drummond grabs her and does say, your value is not in tied up how you look. We love you no matter what. And then the sister's like, or not the sister, the mom's like, I mean, as someone who understands what the desire to be thin, but I just eat healthy and exercise. So I don't know. It was just the words were there, but there was nothing to back up the sentiment. But yeah, so that was the episode I watched. Data Plato struggled with substance abuse her whole life. She was very poor. People stole her money. She tried to hold up a video store with a pellet gun, and then came back and got called and was like, I just got held up by the played Kimberly on Diff'rent Strokes. It's very sad. I think died. It was deemed suicide. And then Gary Coleman I think his was less sad, but yeah. It just when all three of them struggle, that makes me wonder, what responsibilities do these networks have to children,
Well, apparently they kind of acted like monsters on set too. So nobody was really that shouldn't have been allowed,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something that you were.
Okay, go ahead.
You sounded very annoyed when Kimberly was talking about not wanting to be 1 ounce overweight and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels really real to me, though. I mean, especially in the 80s and in the 90s. I mean, when we were growing up, you weren't fat was a thing. It was you don't want to be that. It was
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that I'm annoyed. Like, what do you think you were hearing? Sorry, go ahead. Expand on that.
I don't know, that it just
Didn't seem like a real sentiment.
yeah, or something. I don't know. It
I mean,
seemed odd.
I think just genuinely annoyed because it was like, okay, all these words about how you shouldn't feel this way, but then every single person on the screen, but then the whole show they're making fat jokes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you ate enough food to fill Dom DeLuise. I could, like, I think my annoyance is at trying to like push this conversation and push this political message, right? Like they were trying to be this after school special about like bulimia
on a sitcom.
on a sitcom, but then it's like, you know what I mean? Like the only other, so you've got Arnold who's like overweight, a little pudgy, I guess, but that's more physical stature. And then like the maid who's overweight and talking about how like, oh, it's embarrassing because all the you know what I mean, like it's shame, like everything around being overweight is shame.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, fuck you.
Yeah, but that's what the 80s was.
No, I know, but I can remember, I think for me it's annoying because I can remember, I don't know if like, I feel like watching this episode was probably the first time that I ever heard about bulimia. And so I am someone who binges but doesn't purge.
Right.
So I get fat. And I can remember wishing that I could purge so that I wouldn't be fat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as a child,
yeah,
or a young, and like occasional, like, that's just that I hate throwing up. So I hate,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely annoyed. I mean, I think it definitely triggers, which is why I was drawn to watch it because, it definitely impacted which I mean, I don't, even as a kid, I don't think I was like that. I mean, it wasn't, I wasn't like going down at night. The only place I did that was at grandma's. But I was talking about, like, who was I talking about it with recently? I think I was talking about it with Emily. I don't remember how it came up. Or no, I was talking about it with Mark because with Elliot. Because Elliot loves sugar, right? He loves sugar.
Yep.
And it's concerning. And Ben and I've talked about how we need to like pull back and like limit. And it's not like dessert doesn't need to be every night. But I also want to always have it in the house available for him because I feel like us not having it in our house made it to where I especially didn't learn how to regulate it. You know what I mean? Because and the reasons we didn't have it in our house was because mom couldn't regulate herself and dad couldn't, so it's like if we did have it, dad would eat it all. So then for us, I think there was like a feeling of urgency to like get what you could before it all disappeared.
Yeah.
And then then we would go to grandma's where it was like cookie jar, cookie jar, cookie jar, then I would sneak down at night and eat the cookies and things. So it's like, one, I don't want to not have it available or have it only available at like certain, you know what I mean? But the other thing I watch for and why I don't worry so much about Elliot right now, and what's interesting to me is to see the difference between just him and other kids, where it's like he will stop, like he'll be eating something and he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Piece of cake, ice cream, which is not, and I think I don't. And then I see other kids who it's like there's no shut off valve. It's just like sugar, 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 cookie, 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 cake, cake, cake. I want another, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how I was. Like, for me, there was no like until it's gone, and I will have as many as I can until you say no and stop me.
Right.
And that I'm wondering is that the biological piece, because and he's been like that He's always been like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, it's just so hard to tell, like, where that, and I think that's that line, you know. So I
The
don't know.
piece that they
Anyways.
tell us is psychological, that I'm pretty sure is biological. They're starting to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, and again, this is all very like Jean Piaget, I'm just studying my own child. I'm not doing some giant, is that, the other kids that I'm looking at who I have not experienced, obviously I don't live with them, not being able to have that are girls, and so I'm wondering if there's an element, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying boys don't have it. It's just an interesting kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and Ben's
yeah. I think that with gender complicates it. Also, we're doing a great job with our Black History Month episode, I gotta say. Gender,
sorry.
It's fine. Gender complicates it because girls aren't supposed to express emotion. And so I think a lot of times girls and women will use food to regulate emotion. Yeah. So then it becomes much more complicated, whereas men are just allowed to hit each other and yell things and be angry. And so they don't have to use food to try to suffocate that emotion. And so I think that it's all very, very complex, but I would say, first of all, it was like the first time anybody really ever talked about bulimia was in the 80s. It was definitely happening before then.
100%, yeah.
But nobody knew.
It was like a recommended way to stay thin before then. Like, it wasn't a disease. It was like, you should do this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Don't like exercising, just puke. But I mean,
or take laxatives.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I think that you can't really get mad at 80s TV for being bad at this, because everybody was bad at it. So it would be misrepresentative. I know. And at least they tried. I mean, they tried to bring it up,
Yes.
That's all. That's all I got. Talk about 227?
Like with our next show, we'll do better with our Black History Month episode.
We're watching Troop Beverly Hills, so how?
No, I mean talking about 227.
Oh, you mean the same episode?
Our discussion. Sorry, no, yes, our next show.
The next show we're going to talk about. Yes. What do you remember about 227, Ryan Davis?
I remember families, apartments, stoop talking, Pearl and her pillow in the window, so gossiping, laughing. That's all. Yeah, I don't really remember a whole lot.
Yeah,
other than that.
Jackie. And wanting to live in an apartment building. It made me want to live in an apartment building. Yeah. I don't know why.
It's interesting to me how similar the sets of all these shows are. Because I like the Diff'rent Strokes set really reminded me of the Cosby Show set. And then like 227 reminded me of like Punky Brewster and a lot of the Jeffersons. We're all very similar.
Even they weren't original? They were formulaic? I'm teasing. What I was surprised by, because I watched the pilot first, even though it's not the first episode. I was like, Regina King, no idea. Completely forgot that was the daughter. I forgot about Pearl, so I was really excited when she came in.
Oh, yeah. I love Pearl.
And then I started researching because I got a little bored, and apparently this was originally a play that they expanded into a TV show. And the play was set in Chicago, but this is set in DC. And then I was reminded that because all they do is throw shade and share tea, was that that's the reason I can't be 100% highly effective. Like, I like the 7 habits of highly effective people, but one of them is that you can't gossip. Like, you can't talk shit. And it's like, that's a fundamental part of my personality. I don't want to stop. Like, I don't want to stop. Now, I don't want to go around making people's lives miserable and trying to get them out of their jobs and shit like that. It's not that. It's just like this level
like
of
when people,
girl, did you hear? Girl. I love that they called each other girl all the time. Because recently a friend of mine posted something about Twilight, and I commented, "There's no shame in female pleasure, comma, girl." And she commented back in such a way that it was very clear that she didn't like that I said girl. And it was like, I'm not trying to infantilize you. I mean girl in this way. Where you know, where it's like girl, you know?
Girl. Yeah.
Like, I don't have the erudite, like, feminist language to talk about it in a way where it's not anti-feminist for me to say girl, but it's not anti-feminist for me to say girl. I don't care. Like, it's just not. That's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that's the hard thing with, like, online. Like, when you lose, like, tone, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do like that they say girl. And child. I like the child, that they use that one a lot.
Yeah. We can't get away with that, but.
No, I don't use that one, but it's,
I can say girl.
Yeah. I was going to say. You're like, the problem with gender and da-da-da. And I was like, the problem with us doing a Black History Month episode is that we have to be careful when we talk about race because we are two very white women.
We are, but I think that what we're doing with the podcast is re-examining the things we wasted time on as children. And I would like to make it clear that these are two examples of a number of Black shows that we watched.
I was going to say, I do appreciate. Yay for us.
No, I mean,
but I don't know why. I don't know if it was just because mom.
There were 3 networks. That's why.
Yeah.
Because Fox didn't even exist. There were 3 networks. And so that's why. I mean, you never get Cosby Show numbers again. And it was a good show with a creep.
Yeah.
But the reason Cosby got those numbers was because there were 3 channels, right? Now, what I appreciate is that even though these shows aren't perfect, at least the networks were putting them on. You know,
100%. Yeah.
And then as cable became more popular, as TV expanded, as there were more platforms, then you get like Black Entertainment Network and you get Fox. And so you've got more outlets for this kind of entertainment where, you know, first of all, I think as teenagers, we just quit watching TV as much. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, our TV broke and Dad wouldn't get a new one.
Yeah, there's also that. But it's not like we were going to other people's houses and watching TV. Like, that wasn't really, we were watching movies.
That's true. We should movies, yeah.
But I was thinking about it too, because I was like, well, I want to own that, yes, when I became a teenager, I stopped watching a lot less Black entertainment. And I've tried to really think about it. And it's like, I remember like The Nutty Professor and like all those Eddie Murphy movies where he plays like 5 different characters. And I don't know how to describe it, but 227 is funny to me.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy playing a fat person is not funny. Eddie Murphy playing a woman is not funny. Like, and even Martin Lawrence.
And like Medea.
Yeah, I just can't.
Yeah. Like the other day in class, my students were like, can we watch Medea? And I was like, no. Sorry. Like, I'm not racist. I just don't want to watch that. Like, I don't find that amusing.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it was like with network television, they tempered it enough that it was like Black television, but it was white enough.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, where it's like, I get it. Like, I mean, Corey would go to church when she was a kid because she didn't want to watch Hee Haw. So, like, you know, there's a way things can be way too white, right? Like,
well, it would be interesting to see, like, who were watching these shows. Like, were Black people watching these shows? Like, were Black people watching the Cosby Show? Or, you know,
yeah, I mentioned 227.
I think 227, yeah.
Like, I mentioned it to a coworker, and she's like, "Yeah, we watched that." You know, like, yeah.
Because it was like, we watched 227, we watched Amen. I remember watching Amen.
Yep.
I remember watching A Diff'rent World, Diff'rent Strokes, What's Happening.
Fresh Prince.
Which one?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. To me, that was the last one. I feel like Fresh Prince was the last.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're right. Like, we did just stop watching, and then they just stopped making sitcoms, you know?
Oh, they kept making them. They were just real bad.
Yeah, I guess
then it was like Friends era, so it was all just white people. So.
Ugh, so many white people. We did watch a lot of white shows. We didn't stop watching TV, because then in our adulthood, we started watching like The OC and Buffy. Like, we didn't stop watching TV.
There was, I'm saying in our teenage years, there was like,
okay.
Like, I never watched Seinfeld. I didn't watch Friends when it was live. I watched it in syndication. I mean, there was just like a whole swath of my teenage years where I just really didn't watch television. And I'm not bragging about it.
I know. I'm just, as we're thinking, but
yeah,
I do. I mean, I appreciate that we watched these shows, because we certainly didn't, like, mom and dad were not friends with people. I mean, like, we had some Latino influence, but we certainly didn't have Black people that we were exposed to. There were not a lot of Black people at church. You know, it was like a large Latino population. So I do appreciate that we had that exposure in some way. But
I will tell you, exposure does not prepare you for the real thing. Because when I worked at the University of Kentucky, my boss invited me to her church for a special event. I arrived 15 minutes early. First mistake. Nobody was there. Nothing was set up. Nothing. Nobody. 15 minutes early, white girl. Like, nope. Problem.
Yeah.
Then it was like I sat down and everybody was like, oh, honey. I mean, clearly I was like, who invited this white girl? Like, what the hell? They were all trying to take me in. Then they served me this tea, which is like the best tasting drink I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, that's church tea. And I'm like, what's in it? We can't tell you. It's like, why not? Why can't I know what's in church tea? What do I have to do to earn it? Like, I can't know what's in. I'm sure it was just a ton of sugar, and then it was interesting because I know from like because I was in grad school at the time, right? And so, I had read research and whatever about how, through Tuskegee and everything else, Black Americans have a really hard time trusting the medical profession, right?
Yeah.
And that they will withhold things from doctors and not tell them what's going on, right? So I'm sitting at this table with these nice older ladies, and they're trying to let me in on their conversation and whatever. And everybody's Miss that, and I'm Miss Heather and all this. And I'm sitting there. One of them goes, well, I went to my doctor, and he said I was going to be diabetic. So then I just drank water and just imagined all the sugar leaving my body. And drank water and imagined all the sugar leaving my body. And then I went back and he tested me again and I wasn't diabetic. And he asked me what I did. And I said, nothing. I was like, okay. I wasn't going to tell him what I did. I was like, damn, well, you had to stop drinking this church tea. I'll tell you that much, because there's no way you drink church tea and then your numbers were okay. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, no. That church tea make everybody diabetic.
100% sugar foot. So yeah, no, it was interesting, but I definitely want to say I don't feel any kind of special like affiliation with Black culture because I consumed Black television as a child. You know what I mean? Like, and even like Diff'rent Strokes.
If nothing else, it just made us not racist assholes. Like,
yeah, mom and dad helped with that too. Like, yeah. But for sure, it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know. I never went to anybody's house and was like, can we watch 227? They were like, no. I mean, I don't ever really
Yeah.
remember experiencing that, but who knows?
No. No. I mean, no. I don't. Yeah. The only reason, like overt racism, I remember was, going to her grandparents'
Yeah,
house.
our grandparents' house.
Yeah.
Y'all, we could
But
give you
not.
some quotes. It's bad. It's
Yeah.
real bad.
So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I think we have to say something too, like applaud the show for being a female led cast.
Yeah, yeah. That was pretty cool.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just a good show about family. Like, and it was just funny. And I do want to know what her husband did for a living. That it was like nice to see people being able to survive on a single family income.
Yeah, I kind of was. So I got more into the gender politics of it too, because I was thinking like there was definitely a time after I stopped thinking I was Catholic, uh, where I was not very kind in my thoughts toward homemakers, right?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
now, and after having seen you raise a child, that is more than a full-time job.
girl.
So now I don't know if the kid's grown, maybe it's a little different, but whatever. Um, so I definitely was like, I feel like in that unforgiving stage of my life, I should have thought back to 227 and just been like, yeah, they were fine. Like, whatever. They were just chilling. Like, why should they have to like work all day and then cook dinner? Like, that sucks. Like, they just did some laundry, sat on the porch, like talked shit, and then went and made dinner. Like, I don't know, sounds good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I would love it. That sounds great to me.
they had the
Like
first part of the day to themselves, and then they had to deal with the family. Like, I don't know, sounds all right. Sounds not bad. But yeah.
that, yeah, I was gonna say that sounds perfect. Like I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom now, but next year when he's in school, that's great.
So you just want to stay at home. You don't want to be a stay-at-home mom.
No. No, I do not. Like I've said, and I mean, anyone who knows me knows I love my child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never once been like, I wish I could stay home. No, like,
Yeah, he's too much for one person. So it's
He,
good that
yeah.
it's good that he goes to school. He needs to.
I mean, maybe like I know there's something to be said like when you have more than one and they can entertain each other, but then I'm like, I don't think that offsets like the other burden of having
No.
multiple children, like
Right.
that they
Yeah.
can entertain each other because then they also fight with each other and like
Yes. Yeah.
no, yeah. So those of you with multiple children,
Hats off.
I salute you.
Yeah. Can't
Uh,
handle it.
yeah.
The which episodes of 227 did you watch?
I watched like 3 episodes.
Oh, look at you.
I should have gone to bed. I only took notes on one. So I watched season 1, episode 3, where they are Brenda has to do no, not Brenda. Brenda was the other friend. Sandra has to do, right? Their daughter. Is their daughter Brenda?
Oh no. I was
Or
very tired
Sandra. I
when I
think
was
their daughter's
watching that.
Sandra.
God, we're the worst.
Anyway, I know. I'm just second guessing myself because I know there's another character in another black sitcom called Sandra. So now, yeah, because one of the sisters, daughters on the Cosby Show was Sandra. But
Oh my God. Just stop.
okay,
Brenda
is their
is
daughter?
Regina King.
Yes.
And yes, she is the
Okay.
daughter of the main character.
Okay.
Yes.
Brenda has an essay she has to write about an interesting member of their family.
Okay.
So she goes and she asks Mary and the dad, like, who the interesting family members are. And Mary's like, well, my uncle worked at the post office, and when I was a kid, I'd go down there and he'd stamp my head, special delivery. Like, and everyone's like, okay. And then the dad's like, oh, I had a so-and-so, aunt or something who was a brake person, a lady breaker on the Pennsylvania Railroad. So then they're like, oh, that's really exciting. So Mary gets a little butthurt that she doesn't have anyone interested in her family. So then they're all talking about it on the stoop the next day. And, and of course there's the rivalry between Jack A's character and Mary. Jack A's like sexy and independent, and they don't like each other. They get along. So she comes out and then they ask her, and she's like, "Oh, yes, I was related. I'm a descendant of a Moroccan prince." Da da da, and all this. And they're like, okay. So then Mary finds this like chest of stuff, and it's like it does make a pretty good joke. It's just like, my aunt gave me this after Uncle Lester died, to hang on to it. I was like, and her friend's like, "What's in it?" She's like, "I hope not Uncle Lester." Wit. It's a very witty show. Yeah. So they open it and they're looking up and they find that she has a relative who fought in this like highly decorated Civil War infantry. So she's like, "Oh," and everyone's all excited, and they're spreading it around, and she's waving it in Jack A's face like so and so. So then Jack A goes down to the library to try to find out more about her. They're like, "What was your prince's name?" And they're like, she's like, Your Highness."
Yeah.
So she goes down to the library, which of course Mary's very like, the library. Like, and so she couldn't find anything on her prince, but then she found out more about Mary's friend and found like diary pages from another person in their infantry talking about how he ran off and escaped and left them all during the fighting, and that he ran off dressed as a woman, and he had made himself a dress out of the Union Jack flag. So it's like all these layers of shame and hilarity, and like they tell the daughter and she's all this, and they're like, "Well, it's still interesting," and she's like, "Well, people are gonna make fun of me." And then like I think the moral is like one about pride, because Lester, the husband's like, "Well, you had pride about this and you had pride about this, and you know what I mean, like you let your pride get the better of you." And then the other is like at the end, she's like, "You just got to make them laugh with you instead of laugh at you." So yeah, they were laughing about, oh boy, prancing across the states wearing a Union Jack
dress
or whatever. Not, yeah.
When we were kids, I had to do an interview of a family member. I had to make a family tree and then do an interview of a family member. And I interviewed our grandmother, maternal grandmother. And our grandfather was so salty about it. He was so mad. But he told me stories about him all the time. I didn't care. Like, I wanted to know about my grandma. And like,
I don't ever remember Papa telling stories, but
like he recorded all those tapes about when he was in the
Navy.
Navy.
But that was like way later.
No, it was not way later. This is how time works because of time. But no, he was very frustrated that I just. But that's when I found out she wanted to be an architect and like shit like that. Like that's talk to your old people, find out their stories.
Is that when you also found out that we're qualified for the DAR?
No, Mom had told me that from before. That's on her dad's side, though. So I watched season 2, episode 1, also called Wheel of Misfortune, which was not a very good episode. But I did see a commercial for Arnold Schwarzenegger as being like Agent State Farm. And I just want to know, why is he getting a comeback? Like, he doesn't need a comeback. Why is this happening? I don't like it. I mean, is he getting a comeback? Yeah,
he's on a State Farm commercial.
No, he has like a Netflix show and like all this other shit. Like, yeah, no, he's definitely getting a comeback. That's really gross.
I also saw, did you see the Ludacris one?
Yeah. Jimmy Fallon's on one of those too. Yeah. So State Farm's really up in their commercial game, but on streaming television. But there was a really great sweater dress in this episode that Regina King's character wore, where it was like, the kind where it's not like a tight because you're a teenager. That's like a loose sweater that goes way down to her ankles, and then she had bright socks with it. And I was like, I would have wanted that dress real bad. I would have worn
it went
it
all the way down to her ankles?
well, not her ankles, like it went down past her knees, and then she had little bright ankle socks on. And I mean, it was a pretty boring episode, but I just wondered if you could be on any game show, which game show do you think you would be best at? Like, which one would you win? Because they went to Hollywood and went on Price is Right, and she choked. So,
Mary choked.
Yeah, Mary choked.
Probably not The Price is Right. I don't think I would do well on that. I don't know. Like, give me some examples of game shows. Not anything with words, so not
Wheel of Fortune. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm not good at those games. My students and I have a class where we've started playing. They do Wordle, and then we do a crossword puzzle and a bunch of different games instead of actually working. The brain games, whatever. Maybe Family Feud.
Oh yeah, we do good on Family Feud.
I think we would do good on Family Feud. Or like, is there a game where it's like you can try to get the other person to say the thing without saying the word? What is that?
Yeah, password? you can go on Password. We'd be really good on Password.
We would be really good on Password. We would kill it on Password.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be like any game show of any, any time.
The dating game.
Not just one that would be on now. The dating.
I'd kill it at the dating game.
God, I'd kill the dating game.
Newlyweds. You see better than the newlyweds.
It would be so bad. What color are her eyes? And he'd be looking at you and be like, I don't know.
Sometimes, I know. Like, what brand of wine does she drink? Red. Sometimes he surprises me. He really does. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't think he'd be that great at guessing his stuff either. But that's fine. Yeah. You guys wouldn't be so good at that. That's okay.
Hey, I know his Indian food order, so
that's good. That's what really matters. That's a love language. I think I would be on a new show that I've been watching with our uncle called The Trust.
Yeah?
It's
Lord.
A reality TV show.
Is that the one with oh no, that's not the one with your Scottish boy. It's the Alan Cumming. Alan Cumming's got one now.
Oh. Well, in this one, they all live in a house. Yeah. And it starts off and they have a certain amount of money in this trust, and they can choose whether they want to vote each other out. So if you vote people out, you get more, but then you could get voted out and then you get nothing, right? And there was I didn't watch all of them, but there was a sweet old lady in there at one point, and they were like, we're going to offer you $15,000 and you can walk away. And she's like, yep, bye. Like, good for you, lady.
Deuces.
But they're like trying to fabricate all this like drama, and then there's like this teacher who's just funny, which I appreciated, but it was like, I feel like I would be very good at this game. Like, I don't use these kinds of powers, but I have them.
Like manipulating people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably be pretty good at that. People are so easy to manipulate if you're like an intuitive person.
And especially like because they want to be on that show. So they're like dumb as hell and greedy and whatever. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the sad thing is, like, normally I don't like that kind of stuff at all, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to go back and figure out who like won the trust. Like, is there a really terrible show that I actually like? Is this finally happening? Like, because I don't watch any of the Housewives or any of that.
I was gonna say, did you find your Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
I don't know. I haven't watched it on my own, so maybe I can just use my uncle as an excuse. Well, any last thoughts on our Black History Month episode that was pretty much a fail? What
are you supposed to talk about?
Like, I don't know. It's fine. Hey, thanks, guys. That's it for this episode of I Love You But. Join us next week when we discuss True Beverly Hills. A little more in line with who we are as people, right? What made you laugh? What made you cringe? What did we forget? What should we talk about in future episodes? We want to know your thoughts. Find us on Instagram threads at I Love You But Pod, or email us at iloveyoubutpod@gmail.com. Listener email and comments may turn up in future episodes. Be sure to rate, review, and follow I Love You But wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. I'm Heather.
I'm Ryan, and we wish you lots and lots of conditional love.